Horizon Zero Dawn's PC release is just around the corner. For those that don't know, it'll be available on August 7th for PC users, and I've been harassing all my friends to get it if they haven't played it already. The game was a PS4 exclusive and honestly one of the greatest games I've ever played. But I've talked about this in a previous video, link to that will be in the description. So I thought with the arrival of the game onto the PC, I'd put together a quick list of tips and tricks that will be important to your survival in the world of the machines. Of course, the spoilers will be kept to a minimum with an exception for a few things, such as some enemies and weapons will be shown in the footage. But enough of that, let's get right into it then. Tip number 1 is Dynamic HUD. This isn't really a tip, more of something cool that not a lot of people know about when they play the game. I know, the very first tip isn't even a tip. You can complain and cry about it in the comments for me, I'll read them later. You can find this in the settings where you can essentially change your HUD elements and what shows and when. For the most part, I leave mine on dynamic, which ensures that the compass stays at the top of the screen while other elements only display when you're actually using them. This isn't something that will help you survive in the world of Horizon, but it will immerse you into the game's beautiful scenery and astonishing graphics. Tip number 2, upgrading your inventory system early on. It sounds obvious, and I know most other videos recommend this one, but this is honestly essential to your playthrough. In the world of Horizon, there are dozens of machines and places to explore, and believe me, you'll be accumulating a lot along the way. In order to upgrade your carrying capacity, you'll need to be collecting drops for animals out in the wild. The best way to do this is just to kill wild animals as you travel from location to location, completing quests. If you're looking for some places to find wild animals, they tend to be located in areas not populated with machinery. So open up the map and look for some spots where no machines are spawning, and then start heading there to start your hunting grind. I'd say early on, make sure to hunt as many foxes as possible as it leads into the next tip I have for you. And that's getting the golden fast travel pack. The reason I mention hunting foxes is that when you reach the trader with this pack, you will need 50 metal shards, 10 fatty meats, and of course, 1 fox skin. The world of Horizon is quite large, and traveling by foot or mount can take a while, so make sure when you're out exploring to visit as many campfires along the way to save you time and give you places to fast travel to later on. For the most part, fast travel will cost you some shards and a standard fast travel pack that's a one-time use only. However, getting the golden fast travel pack will allow you to travel to whatever campfires you've already discovered for absolutely nothing, and it lets you do this as often as you'd like. Before we get into the 4th tip, if you found these to be useful so far, I'd be very appreciative if you could like the video. Moving on, the 4th tip that I have for you is a couple of recommended skills. As obvious as this one is, make sure you get Silent Strike as soon as possible. This will let you take down smaller enemies and machines while remaining undetected. This will help you out a lot in the early parts of the game and is an absolute must-have for your survival in the world of Horizon. The next skill I'd recommend picking up is the Call Mount skill in the Forager tree. While you can overwrite machines in the wild and use them as mounts, this skill will summon a mount to your location no matter where you are, making it ideal and easy to explore the world, and not have to worry about keeping track of your own mount. A useful trick with the mount as well is that you have your standard button to mount them. However, you can also jump on top of them to mount them. It's a little buggy at times, but for the most part, it works really well. This is good to know in case for some reason you're getting chased by a large herd of robots or a bunch of bandits and you need a quick getaway, you can just quickly jump on top of your mount and ride off. The 3rd skill I'd recommend is the Tinker skill. Being able to upgrade your armor and weapons is pretty important to your progression through the game. However, once you put a modification on a weapon or armor, you can't remove them. Unless, of course, you have the Tinker skill. Tinker allows you to swap modifications freely between weapons and armor, which really helps to ensure that your gear is as good as possible as you dive deeper into the world of Horizon. Moving on to tip or trick number 5, we have the Strike from Above skill. This skill allows you to assassinate an enemy below a ledge you're standing on. However, one thing that the game doesn't actually tell you is that it works from any elevation, whether it be a slope or even a small rock. You should be able to jump and then strike an enemy from above, so long as you have a little more elevation than they do. This one is extremely situational, but I thought it was cool enough to include in this list. Next up, we have tip number 6, which is free resources. When you first visit a trader, make sure to check out their treasure boxes, as each of them will offer you a free resources box. These boxes may contain different stuff from traps to crafting materials, so getting these is a must as it's just free resources and saves you gathering them out in the world. There's also no limit to how many of these you can have at a time, so make sure to stockpile these whenever you can. Another neat trick with these boxes is that the game lets you look inside of the box before adding it to your inventory. So if you're like me and you want to make the most of your inventory space, only open the boxes when you need the resources inside. Otherwise, you'll end up with a full inventory before you know it. Tip number 7 is do the tutorial quests. It seems super obvious, but in my first playthrough, I didn't do a single one of them. These quests are usually given to you when you acquire a new weapon and will actually teach you how to use the weapon and also reward you with a huge amount of EXP. I honestly don't see any reason not to do these, even if you know how to use the weapon already. There is of course one issue with this, and it's that you need to actually activate the mission, otherwise it won't track your use of the new weapon. Annoying, I know, but a small price to pay for such large amounts of experience points. Moving on to the final tip I have for you, use the notebook. The notebook is available to all players right from the get-go, and will show you all the information you need to know about the machines that populate the world of Horizon. Things like where their weak points are, what elements they're weak to, and even what items they could drop when killed. Overall, the notebook is just a quality of life feature that will make your progression in the game far easier. That's all. I hope you found these tips and tricks to be helpful to your survival in the world of Horizon. If you could like the video and subscribe to help grow the channel, it would be very much appreciated. And feel free to leave any tips and tricks you may have for the game in the comments below.